How do, welcome to the channel. After the shake-up of points, balanced data slate and the Arks of Omen, there is a question about whether people are even going to take troops anymore in their lists. It seems going into the end of edition it becomes a silly season for lists with de-restrictions and people building whatever they want, and as a result, not taking things that you don't really need to take, like troops. However, troops are useful as often they're some of the cheapest units you can get in your codex and play a part in camping on objectives, especially because their objectives secured. So it is the strongest pick for 40k at the moment. I'll go through some of the strong ones, and if you watch to the end, I'll reveal my pick for the best one. Starting off with a few mentions of strong options. The Bloodletters, 130 points for 10. They're cheap and melee focused only. Buffable to get their melee quite dangerous. Not that durable, but do have their demon 4+ save against ranged. And so it's actually quite nice to have an invuln. People take these in big numbers because of the deep striking shenanigans, which can be quite scary. TYRANID Warriors. TYRANIDs have seen a lot of nerfs recently. The biggest impacts of these is the change to Leviathan. Now their points have risen by 5 to 35 points for the base loadout. This was done by making their wargear more expensive, including the default bone sword by 5 points. Still a good unit, but a fully equipped squad is quite expensive. HARLEQUIN TROUPE, 13 points and no changes recently, although in general HARLEQUINs have been hit hard with nerfs. Specifically only having a 6+ armor save and T3 1 wound, then seeing their end run go down to a 5+ is a big blow. But HARLEQUINs have been at the top of the POW for a while and their troops a key part of this. We've got dangerous pistols like the fusion pistol at strength 8 -4 AP D6 plus 2 damage, or dangerous melee -2 AP and 2 damage, often key being delivered in great transports that are available to them. I wouldn't get away in a video about troops if I didn't mention the Space Marines troops after the recent buffs. Everything's had points reductions and free war gear, and so a lot more has been brought into contention for being the best, although I don't think they are as strong suddenly. The heavy intercessors have got a lot more viable, 23 points, and their T5, 3 wounds and some good firepower. They certainly have more of a place on the table now because of their firepower and durability. Out of the rest, which are all a little better, probably the standout one is INTERCESSORs. At 18 points, they have the really useful forward deployment, so you can start making a difference with actions and objectives early. They're always hitting on 3 due to their targeting ability, and they can also have a free haywire mine for dealing mortal wounds when they get charged. They're not particularly good for damage output, but they are good for gameplay, which is what it's all about ultimately. In second place, Noise Marines. 21 points, and they've had no changes in this last update. And for the Chaos Space Marines, they're one of the strongest sub-factions at the moment, and people taking lots of these works well. Definitely take the Blastmaster weapon for 15 points. Fantastic damage dealing with the sonic weapon rule, that at half range you get +1 damage. So the big profile at 24 inches at strength 8 -4 AP and 4 damage. Their Legion trait also allows them to ignore any modifiers to hit rolls, so moving and firing heavy weapons works well. Also on 6s to wound, the AP is increased by 1. In the first 2 battle rounds they get exploding 6s, and third onwards it's exploding hits in melee. Chainsaws are free and worth swapping out. They go up to 4 attacks, 5 for the champion, and in the fight phase, they fight first. With the Icon of Slaanesh for 5 points, you can also hit on 2s in melee and ignore combat attrition modifiers. Emperor's Children are great in melee, so building them for this works well. There's tons of strats and buffs available for them, and lists that are doing well are running many squads of these. And now what I think is the strongest troop unit. Plague Marines. A 2 points price drop to 19 points, and every single piece of war gear is free. 2 wounds, T5, -1 damage on all attacks, and a basic 3+ armor save. They're pretty resilient for troops. By carrying a plague knife as well, they go up to 3 attacks base, 4 for the champion. So things like the Flail of Corruption for double attacks, or Plague Cleaver for the strength 8 -3 AP D6 damage are really good. There's loads of plague melee weapon options, and plague weapons reroll 1s to wound. If the Warlord trait Arch Contaminator is nearby, then they reroll all wounds. And if they remain stationary, they get rapid fire at any range for their bolters, and 6s to hit with them also wound your target. They have a couple of other ranged plague weapons like the Blight Launcher, strength 6 -2 AP and 2 damage. They have the Death Guard -1 toughness to enemies when they're close by, and in combat they can deal an extra mortal wound after fighting on a 4+. They generally ignore modifiers to combat attrition, and the squad can spend points to upgrade weapons further, whereas Noise Marines don't. So for 5 to 15 points for various things like more AP, generating mortal wounds or extra damage. There's loads of synergies in the codex, and especially now all the characters are cheaper for Death Guard. Getting all the buffs can make them devastating. Mortals in melee from Biologist Putrefier, 6+ Feel No Pain from the Plague Surgeon, +1 to hit from the Talisman, reroll hits of 1 from loads of HQs, 6s to wound in range, get +1 AP from the Lord of Virulence. There's a lot you can do with them. And that's what I think is the strongest HQ. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you think I'm completely wrong and what else I've missed, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye.